Welcome to the Hollywood Reporter's Closer Look, The Alienist, Angel of Darkness. I'm Josh Wigler with the Hollywood Reporter, and I am joined here today by the stars of TNT's The Alienist, Daniel Brühl, Luke Evans, and Dakota Fanning. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Hi.
Hey. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you especially for giving us new television to talk about right now, because this is, this is a gem in these trying times that we have a new season of television to look forward to. That's season 2 of The Alienist, which is premiering July 19th, 2020 on TNT. Daniel, what can you tell us a little bit about season 2 and what we can look forward to?
It's another very gripping, captivating, dark tale. This time around, we are dealing with a lot of very current and relevant subject matters, even more than back in season 1. We get back to kind of to the world we know. We see the characters we liked in season 1, some new ones joining us. But yet it feels like a different show. It has a different pulse, a different rhythm, a different energy. And that's what kept us as actors very motivated, because we didn't have the impression that we are repeating ourselves, but really doing a different journey.
Dakota, I would love to know from your perspective what the draw was to The Alienist to begin with, what it was about this story, whether or not you had familiarity with the book that the show is based on. What was it about the scripts, the ideas for this series that really captivated you as somebody who would maybe just want to watch this show, let alone be a star on it?
I think that the character Sarah Howard that I get to play is a very modern woman in a period setting, which I think is so interesting to get to play a character that's pushing the boundaries and, fighting for justice and fighting for progress and fighting for equality in, the 1890s. I love exploring stories that are set in a time that I will never fully understand, never be able to live in. And of course, you also see the similarities to the time that we do live in now, for better or for worse. And so examining that through a very entertaining, gripping story is exciting as a person and as an actor.
Luke, for you as an actor, what were some of the draws about The Alienist, and especially playing this character, John Moore?
I mean, it really was the character for me that drew me to the story. He's changed an awful lot through the year since season 1, and where we pick up his journey in season 2. He's a man who's found purpose, and I could see that this was it was like playing a new character, because he sort of had shed the skin that he had in season 1. His addictions, he'd seemed to have put them all in order. He was in love. He was engaged. He found his career, and he was a man with drive and ambition, which is a very different character to the one that I was playing of John Moore in the first season.
Daniel, I'd love to know from your perspective, just looking at The Alienist broadly, in many ways, this is, it's a procedural thriller. You're searching for a killer. You have the team that is investigating the matter. You have forensic experts. You have the psychologist. You have all these different facets of who's exploring this investigation, with the hook that it's this period piece. It's iconically New York City, but it's a New York City of a different time. What are some of the challenges or demands of blending the procedural drama with a period piece?
In a way, we all play pioneers in their very own field. And so I always had the impression that I play someone who is very advanced and a modern mind. It didn't feel that I was playing or portraying someone who felt or was very old-fashioned, but he was just in a very old-fashioned surrounding and world. I had a lot of help and advice by my wife, who is a real alienist. So that intensified our own relationship, and it made me understand what an incredible job she does. That was, fascinating process.
Dakota, I'd love to hear your perspective on that as well, certainly as it pertains to playing the character of Sarah Howard, who I know at least has roots in a historical figure. For you, what are some of the ways in which blending the procedural with a period piece that feels rather modern at times, how did that resonate with you?
Well, that was something that kind of I also was excited by in the beginning, was that even though this is a fictional story, you do have historical, real characters sprinkled throughout. We have Elizabeth Cady Stanton is shown, the suffragettes, we get to see the women's rights movement. We get to, so we get to see some of those real elements woven into, like Daniel said, a very gripping, kind of thrilling story. For Sarah Howard, of course, there was a real Sarah Howard in real life. I didn't want to make Sarah Howard Isabella Goodwin, because I think Sarah Howard is able to sort of stand on her own, but certainly she's inspired by, the real life Sarahs of, our history. And I think that's wonderful to give a sort of exciting fictional version of all of those women.
Luke, I think one of the things that struck me about watching The Alienist was how relevant it is. This is a period piece, but there is this modern sensibility about it in terms of many of the issues that are being faced, both in our world today and in the world of the characters of John and Laszlo and Sarah, whether it's sexism in the workplace, police corruption and brutality. Did that strike you in reading the scripts? Was it very front of mind, sort of the modern qualities of this show that takes place over a century ago?
Absolutely. I mean, it's what's is so special about the story, is that we were able to touch on many topical, social, cultural top things that we are dealing with now that was still relevant then, and we're still dealing with the same things. I think it poses a lot of questions and makes people talk and makes people think and makes people question, how far we still have yet to go if we can still see our reflection in a story that was based 120 years ago.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add on what Luke just said. What I found interesting is that the world is set in 1897, but the books were published in the 1990s. So, but it still feels more relevant and current than ever, more than back in the 90s, which is 30 years ago. So that also is quite remarkable. Unfortunately, I have to say that history repeats itself that way. But I guess it's always important to look back, to learn from history, no matter how painful it is. And it always goes in waves. It doesn't mean that humanity, that we always go into the wrong direction. Sometimes we do advance and we do evolve. If you think of psychology, we are in a different position right now. We have gained much more knowledge than back in 1897. But some of these questions that Laszlo Kreisler had, and that longing to understand the human mind and to heal people with mental illnesses, some of these questions are still not answered today. I mean, my wife tells me about it, schizophrenia. I mean, there's so many complex illnesses of mind that we still, cannot fathom and cannot fully understand.
Dakota, do you have any takes on this topic as well, playing Sarah and living in this world, and certainly coming to so many of these situations as perceived as an underdog or an outsider and other, even though by qualification she has more than every right to be in all of these rooms that she enters?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's been interesting both times around, because the first season was filmed in 2017, and sort of when we wrapped and when it started to air was the era of Me Too and Time's Up, and there were so many moments with Sarah in the first season of harassment in the workplace, abuses of power, sexual harassment, that was all woven into the story the first time around. And it proved to be extremely topical when the show started to air. And then here we have, I've watched the show and I was so struck by scenes that I was watching and scenes that I was seeing on the news, you know, with Black Lives Matter and with, you know, gay rights and trans rights and women's rights. And I was watching the show through that lens of, you know, what I was seeing. And it's really powerful. Like, it's really powerful to see the, you know, the ways in which, you know, racism is touched on in the show, women's rights movements, anti-immigration, you know, all of that stuff is woven in to, again, a gripping mystery, you know, but there's no way that you could watch the show and not see the parallels and not think about them in a different way after watching these 8 episodes. And I'm really proud to be a part of that.
Luke, the first scene, or among the first scenes of the entire series, involves John being sent to see the crime scene that kicks off this investigation for the first scene. And it was a staggering scene to behold as a viewer, and I think a real statement on what this show will be able to, I want to say, get away with in terms of content. It's unflinching. You know, it's really an unbreaking gaze at violence and the heinousness of crimes like these that are committed. Were you ever surprised at what the Alienist was able to accomplish from a content perspective in terms of what you were able to get away with displaying on screen?
Yeah, I think there was moments in every episode as we shot them where all 3 of us would take a deep breath. And when we entered the set, if there was a dead body, for example, because it was children being murdered in a very horrific way. I did question whether some of it might have got into the show or not. But if you want to tell a story and you want to move people, you want to do it right, you have to show it. And I think the Alienist, Caleb Carr especially, never veered away from the darkness and the gory and the unspoken. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. I think it's not a romance. It's not a comedy. It's a story that will take you to the darkness of New York City in a time when New York had many, many dark corners.
I'd love to ask each of you if you have a favorite scene from the first season, one that either stands out because something ridiculous happened on set, or because it was so demanding of your character, or because it was so your character. It was just so your character. It was such a distillation of the person that you were playing that you really felt it. For any reason, what your favorite scene was from season 1, and I'll start with you, Daniel.
I enjoyed all these arrogant, cocky arguments that Laszlo has with John or Sarah Howard. I think there's a scene where all of us are together, including the Isaacson brothers, where I threw the chalk at Dakota, and there's that outburst. That was always fun to play when Chrysler is in rage.
How about you, Luke?
Well, the scene that stands out for me was when John Moore goes to the underbelly of New York City, and he goes into a brothel. It was a continuous camera shot. If you go back and revisit it, you'll see that there is no cut, and the camera follows me in, goes around my head, goes above, and watches me from above, and then comes back down. And so it was this choreography which took like 2 or 3 days to work out. And it was a really beautiful scene, and I think it came out really, really well.
How about for you, Dakota?
This is the Alienist, the first season, right?
Let's not spoil season 2. Let's talk.
I have such a good moment for this next one, but I don't want to give it away. But it's one of the favorite things I've done in anything. But I will wait.
You would say your favorite scene that you have done in anything is in season 2 of The Alienist.
There's a moment that I am like, I look at myself and I'm like, you are a badass in that moment. I love it so much.
All right, we'll be in touch. We'll talk once that airs. We'll make sure.
It's very quick, but I love it. In season 1, for me, Probably the scene where I meet John and Laszlo for the first time in the office. It was my first day on set, my first day as Sarah Howard, first day of work, and the first time that you meet her. And I think it was so well written and so much going on. There's like so much sort of chemistry brewing between the three of us just in that small office when we kind of all connect for the first time. And Sarah, I think, tells you everything you need to know about her to watch season 1 and season 2 in that one scene. So I think that moment I'll say.
I'd be curious to know how, certainly in season 2, we are going to have the history of season 1 coursing through its veins. These characters who were not working together as a team at the very start of season 1 and season 1 very much as a unit. So there's that rapport, there's that history that's built between Sarah and John and Laszlo moving into season 2. But how about amongst you three as actors and sort of the comfort that you bring to the table of a second season, having already gone through the trenches of season 1 of The Alienist, which is not a walk in the park. It's a great show, but it's a difficult show and you're chewing on a lot. To have gone through those trials together and to now apply lessons learned, comfort between each other as actors, comfort with crew, bringing that to bear in season 2.
I learned so much from Dakota and Luke because you spend so much time together. The relationship with actors becomes far more intimate. We became very close, and I guess this is another quality of that show that I think you can see that. You can see that these three characters share a strong bond, and despite all the little arguments and conflicts and whatnot, there is that deep friendship. And this is always something magical if you have that, if you have the luck to work under these circumstances with people you really like, you really love, and it shows in the show, and that's wonderful.
I would say Daniel and Luke know almost everything about me. Truly. We've spent over a year of our lives together combined, between the 2 seasons and the press for the first season and the time in between where we've seen each other in the off time, just, getting together for fun. And we're also creatively able to collaborate in a different way because we had such an unspoken and spoken trust and bond amongst us. And I think it helps the show go deeper into the characters and deeper into the story because we all were able to be such a sounding board for one another. So that was really lovely.
I want to be very careful about not tipping the hand of season 2 too much. This is a show that really delivers on the revelations behind so many of these mysteries. So let's keep it under lock and key. But I would love to know from all of you, if there is something, whether it's out of context or a tease about something that happens in season 2 involving your character that particularly stands out to you. And Dakota, I feel like maybe we already got that, right? It seems like there is a moment coming up that is just so Sarah Howard.
It's very small, but it's very Sarah, and it's really good. I really like it. It's very, very small, but the thing that I want to say would give something away, so I will refrain from that. Something that I can allude to that is really wonderful for Sarah is that, we find John Moore engaged to someone at the beginning of this season, and but it is safe to say that there's unfinished business between Sarah and John, and I've always loved their relationship because I think Sarah Howard has to present herself to the world with kind of armor on for battle and has to be very tough and very strong and defiant and a disruptor and to be taken seriously and to have her voice heard. And I think that, the scenes between John and Sarah in season 1 and season 2 are moments that Sarah is able to sort of take some of that off and allow her vulnerability as a young woman to show and her, emotions of her soul and her desires and her, fears and all of the things that she's kind of afraid to let other people see for fear that they'll, use it against her or see it as a weakness. He never does that to Sarah. And so it's a very kind of, those scenes are moments where you kind of get to see her let her hair down and be, just a young woman and not Sarah Howard, the, detective. So we get to see more of that, and that's really nice.
Luke, how about you? What can the fans of the character of John Moore look forward to for season 2?
It's so nice to play a character that has found a purpose, and he's looking ahead. I guess obviously I can't go into too much without spoiling it, but his future isn't as clear as it may look. So the characters are all going to be quite interesting to see where they go, because we're not replicating anything. We've changed. We're different people. We've been through something else, and these characters are now going to, flourish in a different way. So I have to stop talking now because I'm going to
Cut it off.
How about what's new for Laszlo Chrysler, Daniel?
Well, at the beginning of the season, we see good old Chrysler being very stubborn and arrogant because of the fact that he's competing with Sarah over that new case. But eventually he gives in and realizes that Sarah Howard has all the qualities to be, in fact, the best leader in that, in that new case. And thanks to her influence and John Moore's influence, we will see that Chrysler is opening up emotionally and may find a kindred spirit. My favorite small little moment and scene that I think I can give away is me talking about small dogs with John Moore.
It's very good.
Well, I don't know how we're going to top that. So I think on that note, we are going to close out this closer look at The Alienist. I'm Josh Wigler with The Hollywood Reporter. I want to thank TNT. I want to thank all of you for being here. Dakota, Daniel, and Luke, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.